Hi, everybody, and welcome to episode 4 of the Together We Grow podcast. This is a podcast where we teach you how to grow your product-based business from our years of experience in doing the exact same thing. We also talk about what it's like building a business with your other half. I'm here today with Tamer.
Hi, everybody.
And this episode is slightly different. This is a Q&A session. We asked our audience to send in questions for us to answer, which we're going to do. So let's get on with it.
Well, episode 4, that's kind of come around a bit quick, hasn't it?
It has. I feel like we're getting into the swing of this already. The feedback from our podcast has been wonderful.
That's been amazing to read.
Yeah, from the few listeners that we do have, people seem to be enjoying it. If you've listened to our other ones, please leave a comment below or message us, whatever, because we kind of want to know if you're enjoying this or not.
Yeah, or what we could do better or what more we could talk about, just because we don't want to sit here for every single week and record things if it's not interesting to people.
No, exactly.
We want to make sure that we're recording the things that you're interested in and,
But we love doing it. It's quite easy for us because we're just like rambling on about stuff that's in our brain.
We're pretty good at that, aren't we?
So, yeah. But anyway.
Well, it's been quite a nice week we've had the last week, haven't we? We've done something different. We've been away for the week in our caravan.
Yep.
And we didn't stop working completely though, did we?
No, we'd like to have, we had a week away. We went down to Kent, which was very nice, and had a nice little explore around that area. We have a touring caravan, so we do sort of like to tow that away a few times a year. We take Willow with us. Willow is our border collie, who, bless her, she's 15 years old now, isn't she? And she's getting very slow in her old age.
Very slow, bless her.
Yeah, so it was quite different this holiday where we had to sort of really plan our days around what she can and can't do. But you do these things, don't you?
You do, yeah, but we couldn't think of not going on holiday without her.
No, of course. But we can't ever switch off. And it's what's nice at the moment is compared to the previous 5, 6 years, instead of like waking up every morning and checking sales and responding to comment or whatever we have to do, content, all of this kind of stuff, see how things are going. We haven't got to do that now, which is lovely.
Yeah, so it's a bit more relaxed.
Yeah, but now we're doing our coaching and social media marketing for our clients. It's just a much more relaxed. We're doing the things that we really love doing.
Yeah.
Probably love more than what we thought. Because obviously when we were running our company, our business, Cozy Aromas, we loved that. But now we're doing this. We're like, wow, this is...
We're realising what we enjoy more.
Exactly. And over the past week, we, when we go away on holiday, yes, we have a lovely time and we relax. Of course we do.
But we come up with so many ideas and plans and we think about things because you're in a different environment and you see something, you're like, hang on, I can transfer that over into the business, and then your mind's wandering.
Yeah, that's it. And because we love what we do so much, it's like you don't really want to be completely away from it because it's what we enjoy doing. So we'll just keep doing more of it.
Yeah.
And we came up with some great ideas. We're going to be making some changes, aren't we, to
we
our
definitely
website?
Are. Yeah.
At the moment, if you're new to us and you're not really sure what we are, we run the Home Fragrance Academy. And that is a membership website where our members sign up and they have access to all courses. At the moment, they can buy the courses individually. They have access to live coaching.
Downloadable resources, one-to-one advice from our sales as well.
That's it, and that's the most valuable thing is the one-to-one advice. They ping us a message, they need help with something, and we get back to them based on our experience.
Pretty quickly as well, usually.
What our members really love is they're not alone. They have that resource.
That support network.
They have that support network of people who have been there and done it, and have probably faced most of the challenges that they face. And we're going to make some changes to that, aren't we?
We are, yeah.
So at the moment, as I say, the courses are available individually, but what we're actually doing is putting them all within the membership like they were before, because that's where the maximum value is we want. And that'll actually save people's money as well. They'll be spending less because they'll have access to all of the courses for their membership. The membership fee is going to go up slightly. So
be more in line with what it's worth.
Yeah, because it's worth a hell of a lot more than what we're currently charging, but it's still very young. So we wanted to get people on and get feedback. So that's going to go up. And we're going to be adding more courses to it as well. Yep. So we've got a few there. We're working on one now, which is Facebook ads.
Yep.
And then we've got a few more, haven't we?
We've got quite a long list, I think, of courses and types of content that we're going to be producing as well.
They're all short courses, so they're easy to digest, and we're going to plough through those. But they're all basically the ultimate goal for all of these courses. They're easy to consume, easy to follow, but they're very actionable. So you can implement the stuff into your business and you'll see a positive result.
It's not going to be full of loads of technical jargon that's impossible to understand, because sometimes you look online for a way to do something and it's just so confusing.
And I think what people are really appreciating from us is how transparent we are. We're like, we're telling people exactly what we did.
Yeah.
We're not holding anything back. So, yeah, and I think that goes a long way, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. I mean, the world's a huge place and there's so many billions of potential customers out there that everybody that wants to run one of these businesses, even if it's exactly the same business, there's enough customer out there for everybody to have.
There is, and I think sometimes people don't understand that or appreciate that. They're like, well,
oh, it's just saturated. I can't. There's no point. It's not worth it.
If you're selling the same product as everybody else, and you have, it looks the same. You've got the same colours. You've got the same fragrances. The branding all pretty much looks the same. You've got nothing unique about you. Then yes, it's going to be incredibly hard. That's why we teach people. We talk all the time about trying to carve yourself out a niche. Focus on a particular set of customers, a particular audience, create products that they are going to be interested in.
And do your branding and your social media content around that and what they enjoy watching and reading. And, then you haven't got this humongous database to try and market to. It's a smaller database.
Exactly. And that's what we're trying to teach people.
It is.
Yeah. And recently in our Facebook group, if you're not a member of our Facebook group, come and join along. Go to Facebook and search for the Home Fragrance Academy community.
Yeah.
You'll come and find us.
Was that a question?
It was a question. Did I get that right? I got that
you
right.
You got it right.
Yeah. Come and join our group. And we're there. Tamara and I are active all the time. We answer loads of questions. Plus also you're networking with other people that are in the same boat as you. And you can ask advice. You can get feedback from people. That's what it's all about,
Yeah. And we share lots of different tips in there that we don't share anywhere else as well.
Yeah, exactly. We're trying to create a network of people that help and support each other, because being an entrepreneur and a business owner is lonely.
It's very tough.
Especially if in your family or friends network you don't have other people that are in the same boat as you.
Which is exactly the same for us, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. None of our family, either of our families or friend network, are business owners.
Oh, not quite, actually. I have made really good friends with Catherine, who lives around the corner.
Yes, of course.
She owns Flourish and Bean, which is our favourite cafe here in Brantford.
That's amazing.
Absolutely love it. So she is my entrepreneur friend.
Yeah, absolutely. So that exception, of course.
That is our exception.
But the rest of them, in like family and stuff, it's really hard to have deep conversations with them because they don't
understand it. Yeah.
They don't get it, They have 9-to-5 jobs. They can switch off in the evenings and stuff. And if you're listening to this and you run your own business, you'll know what I mean. You can't just switch off.
No, there is no off button.
That's it. And that's what we're trying to create, is a community of people that are there to support each other. So when you do have questions and you're struggling with something, there are people there to talk to, whether that's the community or whether it's you and I sort of directly, which people do, which is nice.
It is nice.
And we've also... Last week, we signed a new client to our marketing service.
We did, yeah.
Which is nice.
So even when we were on holiday, we were taking calls with clients, and we did a Google Meet, wasn't it?
Yeah,
I was about to say Zoom, but it's a Google Meet. We had phone calls.
Yeah.
We still had emails to go through, so we were still actually quite busy and active.
Yeah.
And it feels amazing that we're sitting in the caravan doing these calls and everything in the mornings, and we still signed another client.
That's it. Yeah, new marketing clients. So we're going to be creating their social media content and email campaigns for them.
We really enjoy doing that, don't we? And we've been doing that this morning as well for another client.
We do enjoy doing it, and from a client's point of view, they're sort of using our experience of doing this to build our own businesses in the past, but also it means that they don't have to worry about it. They know it's in good hands, it's going to be looked after. They can then focus on other parts of their business, and that's quite a key thing, isn't it?
It is, definitely, because if it was just me right at the beginning, I had no idea about marketing whatsoever, and obviously you had over 20 years worth of experience in marketing now, and you were the one that did all of the marketing. So I did all of the products and the dispatch and things like that while you focused on the marketing, so I didn't even have to think about it at all. and that made my life so much easier.
Yeah, and that's kind of the thing we're trying to create at the moment, isn't it? So
so other people have that as well.
Yeah, it's working. We only want to work with a maximum of 5 clients, though,
we've got
because
3 currently.
we've got 3. We want to work with only 5 because we don't want to dilute the effort that we're doing for them.
No. We need to get that balance right between all of our clients, making sure they're looked after properly, but also making sure that we're able to create our own content as well.
Exactly.
There are 2 of us, but there are only 2 of us.
That's it. That's it. Of course. And of course, we need to go on holiday, don't we? We need to take our
Karen. We need to try. But I think that's done for the rest of the year now.
Yeah, that's done now, I think.
It's September now, or end of September.
I think we've decided, since we sold our business in May, it's now middle of September. We've been working hard, obviously, building up Home Fragrance Academy and what have you. But we've also enjoyed our time a bit, haven't we?
Yeah.
And I think now we're going to be knuckle down. Let's get on with it. Let's try and build the next thing.
It's not going to be so bad because there's winter coming up.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, the reason for this podcast was to do this Q&A. So let's just crack on, shall we? We've got a few questions each. Shall I give you one first?
Go on then.
So Jackie Walker from the Wickwood Cottage says, as an ex-teacher tamer, how and when did you decide to leave education?
Well, I worked in education for 12 years, and it's not a job that I ever thought that I'd leave, really, was it? I always envisioned myself being there forever, and I absolutely adored the children I worked with and the class I had. Absolutely loved them, and I actually had some of my students from nursery all the way through to leaving school, and it was almost like a little family with the kids and everything. But unfortunately, it turned out not to be the right place for me to be at that time. The school itself had been sold and gone into private funding and everything, and then all the management was changing, and there was just lots of changes that I weren't happy with, and you didn't feel very supported, and it just wasn't the right environment for me to be in anymore.
Am I right in saying as well, you got a bit sort of targeted, and not bullied, I think that's the wrong word, but you were targeted to some extent when you're from other members of staff?
Yeah, I worked my way up to be middle management in the end, and I was in charge of all of the support staff and all the rotas and who was doing what feeding with the children, because it was a special needs school I worked in. And when you put somebody in a role that they don't want to be in, even though they've got the training for it, you're the one that gets the backlash for it. And then it would start off with like little passive aggressive comments, and then reporting me to management for things that hadn't happened, and it just got really, really petty, and it wasn't very nice. And it was only a very small few people that were doing that, but it's enough every single day when you're there for 9-10 hours a day that sort of chips away at you, and it just doesn't become a nice place to be. It's not a nice environment, and then when you're not being supported by the management as well, you get to a point where you feel like, so that was the time, wasn't it?
That was the time to leave. And because I'm a firm believer, this is something I was taught quite a long time ago. I learnt it. What was the guy's name? I forgot his name now. He ran a big e-commerce company. I used to watch all of his videos.
That doesn't narrow it down, darling.
No. I forgot his name. Anyway.
That'll come to you.
Anthony Chesworth. That's his name. Yes, he used to run a big e-commerce platform company. And he always says, you basically have to love what you do. It's simple as that, really. And he used to talk about it a lot, is if you're in a job that you don't love, find something else. Don't just keep putting up with it. And you see there's so many people that are like this, where they hate going to work because they hate the job, but they're too afraid to try and learn something new or change or anything like that.
Yeah.
And I think it got to that kind of point, didn't it? And because your whole working life had been education and care, you're like, right, the natural thing is to go and do the next thing, isn't it? But we decided to do something different.
We did something completely different instead. But I stuck out for as long as I could manage mentally, really, and because I really enjoyed the small number of staff I did work with and the children. That was the bit that was the hardest for me, was leaving the children. But when you think about it, you sit back and really think about it, those children leave school and they move on, and you did make an impact on their life, but so has hundreds of other adults that have been looking after them as well, and they move on, and sometimes it's just better for you to move on as well.
Yeah.
And the time was right, really.
It was, wasn't it?
It was, yeah.
Good. Well, thanks very much for your question, Jackie.
Yeah, it's a very nice question.
Yes. You got one for me?
I've got one for you. Actually, I think we've got a few from the same person, actually.
Yeah.
Rachel Love from Little Ideas with Love. She's asked a few questions, so we'll start with the first one. How do you choose what scents to retire and when? It can be tough knowing what scents are the best to retire, but you can't hold on to all of them, which is something we learn ourselves.
See, we kind of backed ourselves into a corner, really, because
we did.
Because we had our VIP box, which was a monthly subscription service, which provided our customers with 4 brand new scents every month, and then those 4 would then be introduced into our main collection. It means that every year there's 48 new fragrances going in, and that's without any of your limited editions and collections.
And where does that end? That's the problem,
exactly.
Isn't it?
Exactly. So what we did was periodically we'd just run reports through our e-commerce system, which was Shopify, and we'd look at our lowest sellers and our slowest sellers, basically, but not within a previous. So, for example, what I'm trying to say is, let's say we launched a product in July and it's now September. Obviously, that's going to be a much slower seller than something that's been running for 12, 18 months. So you have to be careful on how you run these reports and how you judge this. But that's what we did, wasn't it? As simple as that. It's whatever was the slowest selling. What we would do is we would move those into a clearance section. Let's say there was 10, 20 of them, something like that, 10, whatever. Move them into a clearance section.
Would use up all of the stock that we might have had on our shelves as well.
Whatever stock we had left, we would just, or any oils, whatever we had left, we'd make them all up, put them in the clearance section, put proper stock numbers on them, and then we would just email and let everyone know that these products are going to be leaving us because they're slow sellers. And then you find that the people that love them would stock up on them, and they sell very quickly.
I remember doing it where we put something in the clearance section and somebody actually bought like 20 of one scent, 20 100-gram wax melts of one fragrance
they loved it that much.
Because they loved it.
So that's all I would do is just look at your slower sellers.
Yeah. Run some reports, use the systems that you've got available to you.
Yeah. Then move them, like I say, move them into a clearance section, reduce them slightly, but let people know that once they're gone, they're gone. And then they will start to sell real quick. Actually, they'll become a bestseller. But no, stick to your guns, though. Stick to your guns. You will get people as well say to you, "Oh, leave it, or blah blah blah."
I was about to say
all
the same
this
thing.
kind of stuff, because we had that so many times. You just have to stay firm.
You do. You have to make that as a business decision.
And what you can do, and this is something we did actually a few times, is let's say you've discontinued a scent. 8 months later, you can say, "You remember that scent we discontinued? Well, actually, we're now going to make another 100 of them."
And make a nostalgia collection is what we did, wasn't it?
Make a nostalgia collection, yeah, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So you can do that as well.
Yeah.
More questions from Rachel,
More questions? Yep, I've got another one. How did you design your advent calendars?
That was an evolving process.
That definitely was.
When we first started, there wasn't too many of them about, but what there was, they were all the same. They were basically
like the chocolate box tray ones.
The chocolate box ones, where it is poured wax straight into the mold itself, straight into the tray, into a box, and the box said wax melt Advent or something like Merry Christmas on it, didn't it? That was all it was, and we were like, it's a bit boring. Everyone's doing the same thing. And when we were at Cozy, everything that we did, certainly in the earlier days, was always slightly bigger than everywhere else. So we had the
110-gram wax melt.
And so we thought, with our advent calendar, we want to make this something quite unique and special. And
we were quite key on, especially the VIP boxes, about like the actual unboxing experience as well. That was a massive thing that we really focused on.
That's it. And the first one was
huge.
That was way too big. Was all those little wax pots inside another box. That box had the number of the day on it, and then that went inside a big box with all chocolates and all this kind of stuff. So yeah, that was quite unique on its own. We'd never do that one again. But then we decided to go down more of a bespoke route, didn't we?
Yeah.
So that's where we worked with. At the time, it was a company called Davpack in the UK who had an off-the-shelf layout for a box, and we would design it ourselves. We had an in-house designer, who would come up with the creative for it, but you can use a freelancer.
Yeah.
And we get them printed, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
And then just inside were just wax melts. Each wax melt was a little, I think, a 1 ounce.
Yeah, 1 ounce, 20 gram pots.
That's it. But what we did to make it really unique, and as far as I'm aware, we were the only ones that still did it.
We were to start with, yeah.
I don't know any more that do it.
There has been a couple that have done it since.
Is we had a competition as well. We thought, how can we really make this special? Because we wanted to be known for our advent calendar. We wanted our advent calendar to sell out every year, which it did pretty much, I think. We wanted it to be a profitable one for us, which it was. But we wanted to be very special for our client, for our customers, didn't we?
We wanted to be an experience, which is what we wanted with everything.
So we introduced a competition, and there was 25 prizes.
Yeah, one for each day.
One for each day, and each day when you opened up the door, you had your wax melt, you had a little sweet or a little chocolate in there as well. And then on the wax melt was a question for that day, and it could be as a Christmas related question. And then they would go to our website, answer that question, and then at the end of the day, or at the end of the following day, we would randomly draw the winner from that day.
Yeah, you used a computer-generated thing.
That's it. And each day there was a prize. So it could be something like a £25 Amazon voucher. It could be an iPad.
We had a Fitbit. We had a TV.
It was like a 50-inch TV.
Yeah.
We had a laptop we've given away.
We had a voucher to the Ritz.
Yeah, we did. A Ritz voucher.
Yeah.
It was all sorts. We spent a couple of thousand, £2,000 or £3,000 on the actual prizes because we wanted them to be. We didn't just want them to be. Today you get a wax melt, tomorrow you get a room spray. What we did was we did actually sell. We did a lot of the prizes we had were Cozy Aromas hampers.
Yeah,
like £50
big hampers.
Big hampers. That's what we did to make it really special.
We did.
Yeah, that was a. So that's what we did with our advent calendar anyway, designing it and stuff. It was, if you want us to expand on that, Rachel, then ping me an email.
Yeah, I'd suggest looking at somewhere like Davpack, who have got the fully made trays and then can do a bespoke box as well, get a designer to do it. Yeah. And there you go, you've got your product.
Simple as that.
Keep it as simple and as easy for you to manufacture.
And there's one more from Rachel, was there?
Yeah, you've got the question on your paper.
From Rachel?
Yeah. Honestly.
This one's for you. That's why.
Yeah.
So Rachel again from Little Ideas with Love. How do you select seasonal fragrances?
Choosing fragrances was one of my favourite parts of the job, wasn't it?
Hence why this is a question we selected for you.
Yes. So at first, what I would do is just research upcoming trends. So what things are upcoming in the next season, and if you just search for seasonal trends, you'll find lots of blog posts and articles that like magazines and things like that have written that have got all the different trends that are coming up and all the mood boards and the different scents and colours and all sorts of things. But then you would use that mood board to try and find fragrances that would fit in with it and match to it. And then as we grew our business and we started working with manufacturers, we got these things supplied to us directly from their marketing teams, and they would come down and bring us samples and all their marketing materials and their reasons behind everything, including all their mood boards and everything. And then we would use all of those manufacturers' supplied documents and everything and create our own mood board and our own messaging from that and work out what fragrances that we wanted to use, get all of their samples in, test them all, and go from there, and then release the ones that we wanted to release.
Well, I think we could delve into that a bit more, can't we? We'd get, say, 30, 40 samples from
we'd get a lot.
So let's talk about the test and process. How did we actually select the ones that we wanted
which fragrances made the cut, basically? So we would get all of our samples in, we'd make them up in our wax melts because that was our predominant product, and so we'd make about 10 different samples of them all in our preset recipe, make them all up, send them all out with all of our testing team. So there was me and Paul, we had Nathan, Lindsay, Jess and Shannon at one point as well. They'd all take their bags home with their little pieces of paper, and they'd have to test it on a set date so that we had time for the product to cure. They'd have to write down what warmer they use, what type of room, what sort of scent strength, and all of their different thoughts on the scent as well. And then we'd all come together when the testing was finished, have a big meeting and we'd use the spreadsheet we've recorded all of these tests into, and then we'd decide with the rest of the samples there and discuss as a whole marketing team what fragrances we think we're going to, the ones that pass the tests, and which ones we think are going to fit into which section, if it was going to be a VIP box, if it's going to be a collection, whether we were going to not worry about using that fragrance. So it was a real team effort we did, didn't we?
Yeah, and let's say for Christmas we launched 8 fragrances. We would try and split them up. So we'd want 2 from the foodie category, maybe 2 from a luxurious one, 2 from a clean and fresh, and 2 from like a floral or pine or woody or something like that.
Yeah, the reason we did that was so that our collection was a diverse collection, so that anybody that thinks Christmas scent might think, oh, I don't want that because it's pine or foodie.
Yeah.
But if they only like fragrances that are floral, they've got something in there that they can actually partake in. They can choose something to buy.
Yeah.
And we also released it in a range of products as well. So if they liked the wax melt, they could buy that. But if they liked the room spray, they could buy that. So we diversified our collection as much as we possibly could.
We did. That's how we did that. I haven't got any more questions for you. I think you've just got questions for me now.
Okay.
Thank you, Rachel, for your 3 questions.
Next up, Debbie Jones from Rushmere Skincare. How do you know when to hire staff? How do you go about it? And what are the highs and lows of hiring? While she said she's not interested herself in actually hiring anybody for like the foreseeable future at all, it's something that she was interested in, like the logistics of it.
Okay. So hiring people, you will have a gut feeling. And I'm going to talk about this quite a lot, I imagine, through the answering this question is the gut feeling. You'll have a gut feeling when you need to hire someone. Essentially, there's 2 parts to it. Firstly, you've got too much work, simple as that. And what you'll find is you're making the products and you're focusing on the actual working in the business more than actually how you're going to grow it. If you're doing that, then there's probably time you need to hire someone. And secondly, you need to make sure you can afford it. So you need to make sure that you have, firstly, your business is positive cash flow and you are profitable. You're able to pay yourself. But, I would always say, if you can, is actually prioritize paying an employee before yourself because it will come good in the end. You need to make sure, you need to know your numbers basically in your business. Can you actually afford this person? And what type of person are you going to hire? I would always suggest in the early days is hiring people that will do the jobs that are not actively making you money. So making the products, dispatching the orders, get people in to do that. They are typically lower costing people as well, probably not far off minimum wage, because that's the type of role it is. And then what you need to make sure you're doing is not just doing the same as them every day, but remove yourself slightly from that and focus on growing the business. So when we hired our first person, which was Paige,
she was a production assistant.
She came in as production assistant. I was very, very busy working with, it was just me and Tamer. We were making the products. I was mainly me dispatching them. So what we did was Paige came in, she took over all of production, which meant that Tamer was focusing on production, but also dispatching the orders. And it meant that I could be focusing on growing the business by tweaking the Facebook ads, by doing the marketing, creating content, doing our vlogs, everything that we did, our email campaigns, all of that. And that really did contribute to our growth.
It definitely did. It meant you had time to focus on these things without having to worry about coming outside and packing 100 orders a day.
I think that's one of the biggest things that I've seen people not do is they'll spend all of their time working in the business, making the products. They're so busy making all these products, getting these orders out. That's brilliant. But you'll find that your business is not really going to go anywhere.
You're stagnant at that point.
You're quite stagnant because you need to have someone, and nobody's going to be better at selling your business than you. No matter what you think, do it more. That's it. No matter what you think, nobody's going to be better at it than you because you are the one that need to sell your products to pay your bills and pay everybody else's bills that you're hiring. So nobody's going to care more than you. There's training out there that can help, of course, and that's where we come in. But you need to work on your business in growing it, marketing it as quickly as you possibly can. That's how I knew that we needed to hire people, and that's what we did when we hired people. What's the next part of the question?
Next part of the question was, how did we go about hiring people?
We had quite a prominent, and if you're selling products online, which most of our listeners will be doing, then chances are you've got quite a good online audience. We did at Cozy Roamers. We simply just put a post up, didn't we, saying we're
Facebook
hiring
post.
people. And because we did so much content of behind the scenes, people already knew us, or thought they knew us, they'd seen where we work and what we do and how we make the products. And we were inundated with applications.
Yeah, we'd literally put a post up and would get like 100 comments and messages and CV sent through immediately, didn't we?
That's it, and that's how you do it. Alternatively, if you haven't necessarily got that big audience, then put a listing on Indeed.co.uk. That will help.
LinkedIn as well.
LinkedIn's good if you've got a profile in there, but certainly Indeed. Don't use recruiters. There's absolutely no need to use recruiters. You could go to an agency if you want. However, these people are not going to be invested in your brand. They're there because they need an hourly pay. You ideally want to hire someone
that you choose, that's your choice, that you get the right feeling about.
That's it. That's how we'd get applicants. And with regards to the actual hiring process, when you're doing interviews, I didn't care about a CV. This is just me now talking about our preferences and how we hired people. I'm not saying it's the right way of doing it, but this is just what
our way.
I didn't really care about the CV. Certainly for production assistants, picker packers, all of that kind of stuff. Didn't care about the CV because it doesn't matter. We hired based on their character and what they were like, how they come across. We wanted people that we would feel comfortable would fit into the culture that we wanted to build, which were happy-go-lucky people, jolly people that were
invested,
were really liked our products for starters, and were friendly and bubbly. Quite simple, really, isn't it? Yeah. And again, we trusted our gut instinct when we interviewed these people, because you can teach people skills. That's why the CV doesn't matter. You can teach people skills, but you don't want to have a bad egg. You don't want to have a negative Nelly in your business. Someone that's always moaning all the time, always negative, and that's where you can get some real horrible cliques of people within the company. We had that a couple of times, and we tried our best to stamp it out. But that's what you don't want, really, is it?
Yeah.
And when you're hiring on gut instinct as well, it does come with its negatives because ultimately it's your gut instincts, and people put on a show for their interview, don't they?
Yeah.
And then once they're in, that's when you really...
They got their feet under the table.
And one thing I wish I would have done sooner is fire quickly, basically. If you get people in that you can tell we're just not a good fit, is get rid of them quite quickly. We did do that once, didn't we? We had a guy who worked for us in the marketing department, and he just wasn't getting it, not really.
No.
Which was a real shame because actually, character-wise, he was brilliant. Yeah. But it was the actual doing of the job. He just couldn't get it. Yeah. So we managed to get him out the door quite quickly. And you do have to be ruthless. That's the thing with these kind of things.
And that's where we did struggle sometimes, that we built up such a friendly relationship with these people that trying to draw that line, we did find a little bit difficult sometimes. But ultimately, you are running a business, and if you have got somebody in there that isn't working to their fullest potential and isn't doing everything properly, then it is going to bring everything else down.
Yeah, it
and
does.
Everybody else down.
Yeah, it really does. One thing that we did do, though, and I was very adamant from the outset, is yes, we were very flexible. We were very friendly and rewarding as well as a company. Real nice, friendly atmosphere. But we did all of the admin side of things properly. Yep. So everyone had a contract.
Yes.
They had the handbook that they would sign. We had an online system called Staff Squared where we would record their sick days, and they would be brought up on it if they had too many sick days, because there's a scoring system on there called the Bradford Factor. They would request their holidays in there as well.
We'd have blacked out zones.
We'd have certain times of the year where they couldn't request a holiday, which was during the big summer sale that we do, and also the Black Friday event, because we needed all hands on deck then, didn't we? So all of that kind of stuff absolutely needs to be formal, so everyone knows where they stand. But the actual day-to-day relationship was very relaxed and friendly. However, that being said, I think when we got to, we hired, through Cozy, we hired probably close to 40 people, I think, in total. And I think there would be times where I would want it to be a little less pally.
Yeah.
Because certain characters, certain people try and sort of push that to a certain extent, which was a real shame.
It was a shame, but that's only a few people that did that.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but you know, we had a really nice environment, didn't we?
Yeah,
We
it was
implemented
wonderful.
so many lovely things. We did birthday
Yeah,
presents
yeah,
and
yeah,
Christmas presents for everybody. We did payday pizza once a month,
yeah,
so we all got to get to come together and spend some proper time together.
yeah. That
We
was lovely.
tried to make it like a
I think
family.
I think we did the best we could. You know,
Mm.
obviously there will be some employees. Same with any business. Some employees leave with a bad taste in their mouth. Some employees leave, but are still wonderful people who really like us and we
Yeah.
really like them.
Like Erica, for instance, she
Yeah,
moved away because her and her boyfriend moved across to Milton Keynes,
yeah.
and every time she comes back to Ipswich, she'd always come in and visit and spend
That's
half
it.
a day helping out.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
That's
have a
really
really
wonderful.
good relationship with quite a few people.
So just to very quickly recap, because that was a lot there,
That
but
was
to hire people, put a post on Facebook, go on to indeed.co.uk, post on there if you have no success on Facebook. When you're hiring them, don't worry too much about the CV. Saying that, do be careful of their job history. If they're floating between jobs every
very
6 months,
quickly.
very quickly, just be mindful of that and ask them the question. One thing I never did, which I wish I did do, is check references.
Yeah,
So I would absolutely recommend check references. But ultimately, listen to your gut. Do you
yeah.
like this person? Do you think this person is going to be a good fit for your company, your brand?
Do you trust them?
Do you trust? Do you think you can trust them? You won't know
Yeah,
in the early stage, but do you think you could? And when you get them on board, don't be afraid to get rid of them quickly if you need to. And make sure you keep all the admin in check.
admin is key. So Debbie also asked one more question. Tamer mentioned previously on a last podcast about unpleasant customers and how Paul has been personally targeted. How do you deal with that?
Yeah. Yeah, we had this one customer who was local to us. She used to come into the shop all the time. I think I've seen her a couple times. Never dealt with her. That was you or
Oh,
Jess who
Jess,
used to
yeah.
deal with her. But she
She
was
was
in
a
our
great
Facebook group.
customer, wasn't she?
Yeah, I never engaged with her in a Facebook group because we had Lindsay that was doing all of that over the past couple of years. But something happened. I can't remember exactly what it was, but I think she was being really horrible
It
towards
was the
us.
packaging change we implemented,
Yeah,
and she'd put up her post in the community group, and it was very negative and really drawing out all of that negativity. And then she was arguing with people,
yeah,
so we removed the post,
yeah.
and then she kicked off about
Then
it.
she kicked off and was really horrible, so we removed that as well. She left the group, started kicking off at us in other groups, and then sent me a message.
To your personal
First on
private
Facebook,
Facebook.
it was a long message, but she was, she was swearing. She was saying how disgusting I am and how I can. Was one of the things she said was, you might be able to buy £300 aftershave and all this kind. I don't know where that came from because that's far from the truth.
I know where that came from
What's that?
because in the March we released our favourite perfume fragrances because it was our birthday month,
Yeah,
and you chose Baccarat Rouge
yeah.
as a wax melt. But
Is that an
you've never
expensive aftershave?
as an expensive
All right.
aftershave.
Yeah, I've never bought it.
No, we've never ever bought
I
it.
just really like the scent. I bought it from Essence Vault for 20 quid or
Yeah,
whatever.
because you wanted it for Christmas.
Yeah, exactly.
I opened it up on Google. I was like, this one. He's like, no, don't buy that one. That's really
Yeah.
expensive.
But anyway, and she kicked off and was really horrible to me. The way I deal with those kind of things is just ignore them. I've learned my
Block
lesson
them.
from there. I used to, a few years ago, I used to get my back up and I used to almost provoke it and reply. I'd be quite sarcastic sometimes in my
Yeah.
replies.
And I did actually have to tell you to walk away and leave the building and don't go near the computer because it's not
Yeah.
worth it, because it riles you up, it riles them up. They can screenshot things and it just spirals.
Exactly, and that's a big lesson I learned there, was just let other people deal with it who's better at dealing with it,
Yeah.
and just ignore them. If you've got people like that who are sending you those kind of messages, they're never going to be a customer of yours.
No.
They're never going to want to buy from you again. Just ignore them.
And you don't need to deal with that.
No.
You wouldn't go into a shop and be expected to stand in front of somebody and deal with that. So it's exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
If they've been your customer or not, at that point they're not your customer anymore, and it's okay to say, we're going to step away and block them from your social media because
that's it.
you don't need that.
Yeah, it gets to a point, and again, you'll know, is just don't get, if your mind, and this is a big lesson I had, we've had Sundays, we've had Saturdays, any day of the week, where we've had some comments like this, and then
It's ruined your whole
spend
weekend.
45 minutes crafting a reply, and then you're constantly checking socials to see. Just don't deal with it. If it's constructive and it's someone complaining about a product or complaining about service that you need to fix, then do that.
Deal with
but
that.
if this is just someone targeting you because they decide they don't like you and they're just kicking off, just ignore them, block them, ignore them.
Yeah, sometimes the negative people are just not worth engaging with in some situations.
That's it.
For definite. Thank you very much for your questions, Debbie.
Yes, thank you, Debbie.
So next up, and my final question I've got to come through, is from Kat Dickinson from Star Sense GB. In the beginning of your journey, how did you go about getting a workshop and warehouse, and what are the legalities of it? She's interested in it because she knows she's going to have to move into something soon.
Yeah, this is quite tricky because workshops and warehouses and stuff like that are very expensive, especially the sort of size that you're going to be wanting, because they're in a high demand. And they're quite tricky because you get to the size of the one of, if you go onto Rightmove and look at warehousing, you'll see there are massive ones that are available because only certain size companies will want those. But the really small ones, the 1,000 square foot or less, they will go very quickly. We were quite lucky with our first proper unit, the one at Cullingham Road, which we were at for a couple of years, because we went onto Rightmove, but we didn't go into warehousing.
No.
I actually went into looking in the other category, and it was in there. It was tucked out the way. So I'd recommend doing that instead of looking on warehouses or workshops. Look in other.
You can find some gems.
And we found it, and it was quite straightforward. If you're really struggling with Rightmove and Zoopla, you can look on Gumtree, because there are a lot of people that have invested in very small lock-up units, who are just trying to rent them out for a few £100s a month, and they'll chuck them on Rightmove on Gumtree. So it's worth doing that. I would also recommend speaking with some local builders, because they are not necessarily them, but they will have connections. You're right, of people that have done work for.
Yeah.
So look at those. But with regards to the legalities of it, if you're going for a very small lock-up unit where you're dealing directly with a private landlord, then it's quite straightforward. It's a simple 1, 2, 3 page agreement. This is what it typically is. This is in our experience anyway. Review it. The benefit you have these days is you have a tool called ChatGPT, where you can paste sections into it that you don't understand and ask it to reword it in plain English.
And it will.
And it will help you do that, and it will help you understand it. So don't worry. Well, hang on a minute. I'm not going to give legal advice here, but you can decide yourself. But you have the option of using that, and if you do fully understand it, then perhaps you don't necessarily need a lawyer.
But that's a decision that you will have to make yourself.
You'll have to make that yourself. But yeah, once you've done that, you speak. This will typically be managed through an estate agent of some description, just like a house would be. You say, yes, I want that. You sign the agreement. You pay your deposit. It'll be a deposit is probably equal to the first month's rent plus a first month's rent in advance, and then you get the keys and you're in. Simple as that. But then, of course, you have to make sure that if there's water, electricity and gas and all that kind of stuff connected, same as you would when you're buying a house, you need to contact the relevant services providers to get that sorted out.
Yes.
Broadband, you want to get that set up. We used an EE wireless router, which we still have to this day. We use it in our caravan when we go away. But in our first unit, that's what we had.
Yeah.
And that powered the computers, it powered the Alexa. Happy days, wasn't it?
That was. And I remember when we moved into the next unit that we took that with us, and it was no good, was it? It was
too big. But when you so it's quite simple with the small lock-up units. And when I say lock-up, I mean it's just a key to open the door. Simple,
small industrial,
just tiny little workshop, 500 square foot, something like that, 500,000 square foot, something like that. They're quite straightforward, especially if you're dealing with to a landlord. When you get to larger units, like the one we had at Cozy, or Cozy are still in now, which isn't massive at all. No, it's not massive at all. But when you get to those kind of ones, typically they're more complex because typically they're not owned by private landlords. They're owned by investment funds, pension funds, that kind of thing. That's where you do need lawyers involved, because they will have lawyers involved. You'll need to have a lawyer, and that's where things take time. That's where there will need to be surveys done. That's when they will issue you with I forgot what it's called now, but basically it's a document that will have loads of photos of everything throughout the building.
Yeah.
And it basically means that at the end of your tenancy, you need to revert everything back to that. Even if you've made improvements to it, even if you've painted the whole building and made it look lovely,
just like we did,
they could call you up on it and say, hang on a minute, this is not the same as this. We need to charge you to replace it. They can do that. But yeah, that's where it gets a lot more complicated.
I can imagine the chances are less likely that they're going to do that if you've made improvements, but obviously it's something to be aware of, that they could still do that.
That's it. It's a bit more complicated. That's why you need a lawyer involved, I would suggest.
Yeah.
And it's time consuming because you've got lawyers talking to estate agents, blah, 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 blah. That takes a long time. And of course, it's more expensive because from a deposit point of view, they'll probably want 3 months worth of rent up front, plus your deposit. It can get expensive.
And you've also got things to think about when you move into bigger premises or you add more premises. You need to think about business rates as well.
Oh yeah, that's another key thing.
Don't want to forget that.
That's it. If you need to look at the rateable value, which is based on the how much your rent is, basically. If you're doing 500 to 1,000 square foot, I imagine that it will be rate free. But when you get to larger buildings, you'll pay rates. Your payment is approximately 50% of what your rent is. So whatever you're paying, if you're paying £2,000 a month for rent, you'll be paying £1,000 a month roughly for your business rates. Yeah. That's how it is. Then you got to get all your services connected. You know, if you've got a larger unit, your Wi-Fi might not reach the other end of the building, so you'll have to get networking sorted out. That's a whole process that I don't want to go through again.
No, definitely not.
Yeah,
but maybe that's something that we could cover in future content. Is like something like that, like a proper guide.
Let's do it. Yeah, we could do that.
That could be quite useful.
I hope that answered your question, Kat.
Yeah.
Was that all of it?
That was everybody's questions that we've had so far. We might obviously have some more questions come through.
Yeah.
So we could do another one of these Q&A sessions as well.
Yeah. That was a nice little chat, answering questions. I quite enjoyed doing that.
Yeah. What I like about it is that we're answering things that people actually want to know right now. We know that these are things that people are thinking about and are interested in right now. So it will help somebody right now.
That's it. If you've got any questions at all, ping them to us. Absolutely. Go to homefragrance.academy and sign up to become a member. You have to do that. It's the law. If you're listening to this right now, it's kind of the law, because otherwise the device you're watching this on or listening to this on will explode. So make sure you sign up, become a member, join our Facebook group. We'd love to have a chat with you. Let's get you on one of these podcasts as well.
Yeah, that's something we want to do in future podcasts. We want to actually interview people as well.
Exactly, yeah.
So if you're interested in doing that, let us know.
Yeah, we want to help you grow your business. So let us help you do that. We'll be that support network that you need.
We'll be there to help you.
That's it. It's a lonely place being a business owner. So let us be your support network.
I like that.
Boom.
Don't mic drop though.
No, I reckon that's it, isn't it?
I think we've covered everything today. Nice. Yeah. So thank you everybody for listening, and we'll catch up soon.
See you soon. Bye bye.